Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Welcome to Zerto's Top 5 Ways to Leverage the Cloud. I'm Derek Adair. I'm a cloud architect at Zerto. I work with cloud service providers to plan, build, maintain, and grow their cloud business practice. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to take a look at these 5 ways to leverage the cloud. So here's the use cases that we're going to take a look at. Number 1, lift and shift from on-prem to cloud and getting off the storage server refresh merry-go-round and switching from CapEx to OpEx. Number 2, we're going to decommission a DR site. So really you want to get rid of that thing. It's like having a car that gets 3 miles to the gallon and is constantly in the shop. So we're going to show you how we want to do that. And also locality and support to your cloud service provider. So leveraging your CSP's proximity for high speed and low latency. And then also getting professional assistance with data and application recovery, which is very important. Number 4, application continuity and mobility. So not getting chained to equipment that's 2 years and 11 months old. And then finally, we're going to look at enhancing security and recoverability from ransomware in order to keep yourself from looking like a fool to your superiors. So use case number 1 is lift and shift from on-premises to cloud. Won't your CXOs be proud? A little holiday spirit in there. Essentially, this is the big move for 2018, right? CXOs are coming down and telling their people that we need to get in the cloud. It's a mandate from many different areas, and we're going to enable you to be able to lift and shift from on-premises to cloud with simplicity, with ease, and increase your agility. So what are we looking for when we're making this move? We're looking for cost containment, right? We have a physical infrastructure that we've been maintaining for probably 20 plus years in some cases. The return on investment's just not there anymore, right? And you're really handcuffing yourself being chained to this physical data center. So the gains that you're going to be able to get from this lift and shift are scalability, right? You're going to be able to move up and down as needed to be able to realize cost savings, but also be able to increase performance as needed as you grow, as you hit holiday seasons, as you hit billing cycles, whatever the case may be. You need to be scalable. Also agility, where you're able to move and pivot and make decisions that are going to serve your business short term and not have to pigeonhole yourself into whatever your equipment is, right? You're going to be able to now, being in the cloud, you're losing those physical constraints, right? You're not chained to your equipment. You know, I'm sure everyone would like to see a picture of that, but you're able to move between clouds. You're able to move between hypervisors. This agility is priceless, really. And then, you know, speaking of priceless, let's talk cost efficiency, right? Being able to place workloads where they belong, whether it's on a value tier or it's on a performance tier, you know, anywhere in between. This is what's going to drive cost efficiency, you know, for you, for your company, and that lift and shift is going to give you all these gains and give you all these abilities to, you know, change the way that you do business. So customers aren't going to pay any hazard pay when the CSPs are doing a lift and shift operation, or a partner, whoever the case may be. I certainly recommend hiring professionals when it comes to performing a lift and shift. It is treacherous and difficult work, and these CSPs are in this business. They're doing it every day with their customers. You don't really want a science project when you're doing a lift and shift. You don't want it to be someone's first try. You don't give it a college try when you're doing a lift and shift. So having a valued partner certainly will make this process easier. Things to look out for: dynamic IP addresses. So moving into the cloud and provisioning for static IP assignments to ensure the address won't change as the instant reboots is important. Updating DNS with the new address obviously is important. And one other thing you can look at is possibly cloud over IP product that can maintain IPs across public clouds. So the other big thing to look out for is bloated legacy applications. So legacy applications are probably the #1 deterrent to anyone leveraging the cloud, some of the most notorious physical applications have prevented customers from making the move to cloud. And during a lift and shift, these bloated legacy apps can cause a lot of issues and headaches. So one really important thing is to make sure you're only copying the data required for the application to run, right? You don't want to migrate stale data. Working with your partner to identify these things before you make the move is going to make it that much more efficient. For example, if you're moving a SQL database, you don't want temp DBs or Windows page files because they're not needed for the migration. So it's important to identify areas where you can delete unnecessary data. And that time to clean up is before a move, because essentially you're dealing with years of neglect when you're doing a lift and shift. So it's important to make sure you're with an experienced partner, as I said before. There are CSPs that are putting a ton of resources into their pre-sales engagement with customers. So that's a huge value add, and it can be a confidence builder for an end user when they recognize that through the interviews and the workload evaluation, the cloud service provider can understand their environment sometimes as well as the customer, sometimes better than the customer, depending on the situation. I think one of the things I'd underscore is that, we're working with anywhere from the highest enterprise to, mom and pop SMBs. So the flexibility of a CSP is huge, and their ability to service different levels of customers. So it's important to recognize and identify those things as you're looking to perform the lift and shift. And then I would just also point out to end users, it's really important to cooperate flexibly with your MSP and your CSP. In order to have a successful engagement, there shouldn't be any surprises. So during the discovery phase, you're going to be providing information that you really normally wouldn't share under any other circumstances. So that's why it is so important to find a trusted partner, and there's quite a few out there that we work with, and if you reach out to us, we'll help you identify them. So use case number 2, get application continuity and mobility and reap the rewards of data center agility. So these are really important concepts now. Application continuity, we're in a 24/7, 365.25 world, and really can't afford to have applications go down. And there's really not much of an excuse to have an application go down at this point. Being in the cloud is certainly going to help you with that. Being able to be agile and make your business decisions based on the direction of the business, where the market is really free from where we've been over the past 15 years. It's really, it used to take, 10, 15 years ago, it took 6 months to provision a server. So that time's been cut considerably. You're now at the point where you can spin something up in a day. So that is really the beauty of what has been enabled, and you really want to take advantage of that. So some of the benefits of what's going to happen when you're doing this is being able to scale seamlessly to the demands for application consumption. So obviously one of the promises of cloud is elasticity. So if you're planning on having a Super Bowl commercial this year, you're going to want that elasticity because you're going to get hit hard, and you're going to want to be flexible there. You're also going to have a lower upfront investment, right? So you can re-architect for cost savings. There's just not as much money to fork out because you're moving from a CapEx to an OpEx model, which offers tremendous benefits long term when you're able to flex that out over a period of time. Number 3 is we're reducing physical infrastructure, right? Not everyone's going to, not everyone has the luxury of starting a new business and going cloud native and never touching a physical infrastructure, right? We in many cases have companies that have put tremendous investment into their data centers, and it's very hard to let go of when you've spent all that money. If you're sitting in that position and you approve that data center, and now 4 or 5 years later you're going to approve getting rid of that data center, it might be a difficult decision for you. You might have a little bit of heartfelt feel for it, and the truth is that the market is pushing you in this direction toward cloud. All right, the cost savings the ability to reduce your physical infrastructure, your physical footprint, going green. These are all things that you're going to realize, and typically a number I'm throwing out there is 30% savings. Obviously that's going to vary, but you should be able to get there no problem. And there's so many different value propositions here to reducing the physical infrastructure, right? And you can see what some of them are here, but having it where someone else is managing your infrastructure, especially for DR, I mean, the peace of mind is probably priceless. You really don't want that on your shoulders when it comes to your business going down. It's much better to have that in someone else's hands than your own. It does not become a resume-generating event for you because you picked a trusted partner, and that trusted partner is there for you, and they're going to make sure that you're up and running. And again, I keep pounding the drum on this one, but increasing the speed of application deployment and reducing startup costs. So being able to get that application out there quickly, that can really increase your profitability. Your go-to market schemes are much faster now with these capabilities, and you really see the benefits throughout the business when you're able to get to market faster with a product that customers need. This is going to be an instrument for success for you. Finally, we're minimizing risk with DR and data security options, simplifying your entire IT operations through shared architecture, common standards, and consolidated contracts, right? So how many different vendors are you dealing with right now? When you're talking about all the manufacturers that are knocking on your door, wouldn't it be nice to have a third party that would handle this for you and deal with all the contacts that are coming your way? You will now have that not be part of your day because you are already completely cared for. Your availability of applications and architecture will all be determined, and you'll make that choice on the front end, and it'll be a good choice you'll be able to live with. Another benefit here is reducing resource costs with the implementation of DevOps processes. So one of the great use cases we're seeing is dev refresh. Being able to use a test bubble to be able to move a database server into a test bubble to be able to run tests on it, obviously, also perform patches, any number of things that you want to do with no penalty whatsoever, you have the capability of doing that. So we're driving this, DevOps model and the ability to perform these tasks very easily in that test bubble. So we've seen the paradigm for people, process, and X for over a decade now. And when dealing with the cloud, your platform really is paramount. You want to build your platform based on IT resiliency, the ability to shift direction as dictated by market conditions is a huge benefit. The ability to move workloads seamlessly between clouds, enabling customers to place workloads on the value tier, the performance tier, and anything in between. Then also simple and flexible migration enablement. It's the key to happiness to be able to have a successful migration. It's something that has been the bane of many engineers' existence for a very long time. Zerto has really made migrations simple. It's really the greatest secret in the market today. Our CSPs that are using Zerto to migrate customers from on-prem into the cloud are performing a very repeatable motion that is very clean, and it's just a great way to go about moving your workloads, and then also being able to, once those workloads are moved, protect those workloads, right? It's not enough just to get them to the cloud. They need to be protected in the cloud as well. The cloud itself is not a safe space on its own. It still needs protection. So that's something very important to keep in mind. Use case number 3, a CSP with local connectivity and support will keep your DR plans from coming up short, as the Patriots did last night. So private connectivity to the cloud is full steam ahead. So for those with the need and the means to pay, private connectivity is an option that can offer higher SLAs for bandwidth, redundancy, and throughput. So the options here basically range from VPN, direct connection at a cloud hotel, or a telco-provided connection, which is probably most popular at this point. Telcos provide a wider variety of connectivity options. And, for example, telco providers offer MPLS and Ethernet connection options to your preferred cloud provider. So something to look at. Connectivity obviously is the most important facet of the cloud. If you can't get to the cloud, you don't have anything. So it's important that the networking and the connectivity is carefully planned and connected in multiple locations so that you're not having a single point of failure. Flexible offerings. So some providers are going to offer a wide variety of private connectivity technologies. So whether that's MPLS, VPLS, Ethernet, you may not need all of them, and some providers may only offer one or two. But the point is that there will be a cloud that will offer the connectivity that you need. And the ability to deploy a private, public, or hybrid cloud solution is also enabled by this. And that's really one of the great facets of what we do, is just enabling a customer to decide, okay, I want to be in the private cloud and I want to protect myself. I want to be in the public cloud and I want to protect myself. I want to be in the hybrid cloud and I want to protect myself. We're enabling all of those models, and those models have been talked about for a long time, and they're really all happening at this point. I'd say for the most case, hybrid cloud is the decided upon solution for 2018. I think a lot of customers are still unwilling to let go of that on-prem control, and one way to compromise with that, to get into the cloud but still maintain control of your on-prem, is to use the hybrid cloud and possibly DR as a service with one of our CSPs. So SLA Offerings Galore, right? You are going to be able to very granularly select what your SLA is going to be. And the service you choose should include a detailed end-to-end SLA to guarantee minimal packet loss and optimal performance all the way through to you, the end user, and also real-time reporting tools with verification of SLA performance, which we provide, which is something that typically has been charged for in the past, right, to be able to even know what your data is doing, where it is, and what situation it's in. So important to have that included, right? Some of these SLA offerings, compute connectivity, instance monitoring and restart, storage availability, database availability, service bus and access control availability. Pricing models are basically a dime a dozen in the cloud, right? So it's very important to evaluate, how your CSP is charging you. Some CSPs will charge you for, they'll show you basically every charge that you're incurring in their environment. Some CSPs will simply, for a DRaaS model, charge for storage and connectivity. So it's important to, look at what these service level agreements are, analyze them, and decide what's best for you and your needs. So a variety of bandwidth options, right? It's very important to make sure that you have enough bandwidth to be able to perform your replication. I can't stress that enough. The traffic in your pipe is variable. It can increase and decrease due to data backups, billing cycles, the addition of users, remote office, branch office additions. So one of the things you might want to look for is burstable bandwidth to be able to handle any situations that arise that constrain your pipe. You'll be able to grow that pipe for those specific situations and those specific times, flexibly, so that you can only pay for what you need, which is super important, right? Sharing bandwidth across ports, so they're flexible to scale across locations with growth, is another important feature that I would point out. Seamless connectivity. So again, I just mentioned it, but what could be more important than seamless connectivity to the cloud? If you don't have that, then that's going to be a real problem for you, and you're going to pay the price. Hopefully, if there is any connectivity issue, it's something that is fixed rapidly, and having a CSP on your side to quickly troubleshoot that can often save nerves, save jobs, not quite save lives, but you get the idea. Cloud service providers, they usually host natively the applications and services in specific locations, and that can significantly impact quality of service for the end user. So in order to provide a high-quality user experience from end to end, these network service providers are letting you get on board at multiple points on the network, right? It's just so important to make sure that there's no single ports of failure, whether that's a port, whether that's a plug, whether that's a pipe, whatever the case may be. All these things should be redundant so that you don't run into an issue where perhaps you need to fail over. Maybe your first site is hit with a disaster and it's just completely gone. We're going to be able to help you get up at that second site, but you want to make sure that you have pipe to that second site that's going to be able to handle, being up for any extended period of time. So use case number 4. Decommission a DR site and your financial outlook will be bright. So, this is really the use case that gets the most bang for its buck when you're talking to customers, when you're talking to CXOs and larger corporations. This is where most companies want to start with the cloud, right? They're not just looking to, we don't want to throw our whole production into the cloud. That's not going to be a wise decision to do all at once. It should be a phased approach, right? And that's why hybrid cloud is becoming so important, because no one's just taking their whole infrastructure and uploading it to the cloud. It doesn't work that way. It takes time, and the best way to do that is a phased approach where you are taking out your secondary site. If you're running 2 sites, you don't need that DR site, right? So decommissioning it and replacing it with a cloud situation is going to save you money and save you pain. This little thing called migration, something that we are great at. Migration itself is something that has been, as I've said, a huge challenge for customers. I have personally experienced the pain. There are so many gotchas. If it's something you're doing for the first time, you are not getting out unscathed. So having a professional that does this all the time to perform your migration for you and be there as either a hand to hold or someone to perform the entire migration itself, it's a tremendous benefit. It's something that you should leverage. It's available to you, and go out and do the research and talk to the right CSPs to be able to help you with these migrations to the cloud, because there are many gotchas. Customers don't need their own second site, right? This is what we're talking about. What are the reasons? Well, it's expensive. It's extremely costly to run that second site with power, cooling, all the equipment that goes in, the equipment that needs to be refreshed, your maintenance, your support. All these things are very expensive. Why not roll that into one cost in the cloud? Why are you paying 5, 10 vendors for something that you could be cutting one check for? It's all about simplicity with us, with Zerto. And this is just another way that you can increase your simplicity that kind of sits outside Zerto messaging, but streamlining these things, decreasing costs, presents value and benefit over and above just the cost. You also don't want to be handcuffed on agility, right? If you are able to have that second site be in the cloud, you can use that cloud data and you can move that anywhere. You can perform off-site backups to a third location. You have an incredible amount of flexibility in what you're going to be able to do with your data. And that's really the most important thing, right, is being able to move and flexibly pivot to be able to take advantage of market opportunities. Another potential benefit for those that are earth conscious is going green. I recently read an article where Bitcoin mining is eating up all the gains that we've seen over the past 5-10 years of people going to cloud and of economies of scale when it comes to carbon usage. but it is still a valuable message, to go green. There are CSPs out there, and you'll be able to find them if you look, that have zero carbon footprint. They're using wind power, they're using carbon credits. So if that's something that is on your list of things that you care about, then that would be another reason to go ahead and do this. And then the last reason is always on. Your data center and the people that work in it are capital costs. Being able to offload some of these tasks to a cloud service provider in the cloud is a huge benefit. These people are always monitoring your environment, right? You don't have someone that has to get up in the middle of the night if something goes wrong, if there's an alert. You do have someone, but they're not on your payroll. They're on the CSP's payroll, and they're going to take care of these issues from now on. It's not something that you have to roll out of bed. You have to make sure that everything's up and running, everything's okay. Simply, the CSP will recognize the issue, they will remedy it, and hopefully any issue doesn't even get to you. So this is the one shameless Zerto plug that I'm going to roll into. This is the business case builder. This is available through partners and CSPs, and I really can't underestimate or understate the importance of what this can do for you in your business case to your CXOs, to your board of directors, to your supervisor, whoever up the chain you are presenting this to get approval. The business case builder allows you to perform an assessment. You will interactively answer questions with your provider, and they will fill in the blanks. They will generate the business case that will give you actionable data based on your environment. So we're going to give you the cost savings associated with getting rid of that second site. It's a huge win for you when you're going up looking for that funding, right? And some of the things that will come from that business case builder, obviously, is identifying key applications in your environment, which is extremely important. A lot of times what customers are doing is they're migrating into the cloud with Zerto, and then they identify these key applications, these mission-critical applications, and then they continue to protect these applications, VMs, in the cloud once the migration's done. They've seen the ease of use demonstrated in the migration. They're able to get comfortable with the interface, and these are the 5 biggest results that you're going to get, is that you have an actionable document that you can present that is data-driven, that increases C-level buy-in, and that gives you a return on investment analysis over a period of time in the future. And that's all put together to help you gain budget, because that's really probably the biggest challenge, right, of getting rid of that second data center is where's the turnover point, right? Are you at the end of your 3 years? Are you at the end of your 5 years? When are you going to make that change? The time to kind of start and analyze your environment is now, right? We're going into 2018. 2018 has always been the pivotal year, from as far back as I can remember, specifically 2012. 2018 was the year of cloud. I think it has been a slower process than I think we're all thinking it would be back in 2018, which I think has been good overall. But it's time. 2018, we're going to see a huge influx into private and public cloud CSPs. This market is growing. I work in it every day, and I can see the VM growth consistently. It is out there. VMs are out there to be captured, and this business case builder is going to help you get to that point. So use case number 5. Enhance security and ransomware recoverability, and enjoy your holidays in peaceful tranquility. The holidays are typically a time when people let their guard down. CSPs don't have that luxury. They are guarding your data all the time, and that may not be the case if you're running your own data center. I'm pretty sure, unless you are high up in the enterprise, no one's really paying too much attention to your data center on Christmas Day. So having the ability to have someone else take on that role, take on that task, is really going to be something that you will appreciate once you get there. So as far as ransomware goes, here's the win probabilities for the ransomware lottery. The U.S. is the #1 target, right? Most of the customers I deal with are in North America. So if you look, you see USA, Canada, 1 in 7. The chances that you're going to get hit with ransomware are pretty high at this point. We have customers that get hit with ransomware and can pretty much shrug it off and laugh it off. Now, I have also seen customers that have not had that capability, and it has brought them to their knees. The WannaCry virus was named such for a reason. I'm not sure if you've ever been locked out of your data yourself, but it is a very uncomfortable situation to be in. And if you're in any of these leading countries, then you have a pretty good chance of getting shot in the leg by ransomware. So it's very important to be prepared and have contingency plans for this. We can certainly help you do that. So let's just visualize this for a moment and say you've been the victim of a ransomware attack and your files are locked down. You might be starting to break a sweat a little bit. Your last backup might have been from last night. It might have been from last week. It might have been from last month. So how much data can you actually stand to lose? I mean, that's the big question that every customer gets asked when they're looking to go into the cloud and they're looking to protect their data. What's the cost to the business going to be if things go down and you can't recover? How's the public going to perceive your inability to counter the threat? That's really important, right? Your public image is so important to your company. It's something that you don't want dinged, you don't want damaged. It's very hard to get back once it's lost. I would point to Chipotle in that regard, where they've never really recovered fully from their incident that they had in 2015. So, it's pretty proven that, if you show you can't manage your data, how are you going to manage your customer's business? How's that going to go? So it's really important to keep in mind. So, what happens when all your public-facing services are down while you're trying to fix the problem? Those are things to think about. How much time is it going to take to get back up and running? Do you know? And that's really an important thing to think about. What are you aware of in your environment? Are you going to be able to recover from ransomware? Are you going to be able to restore and recover if your site explodes? God forbid. But these things happen where, we saw just recently over hurricane season where there was a parking lot of hurricanes filling up the Atlantic Ocean. And, we had a customer that had a data center in Miami and I believe a data center in Atlanta, and they were both lined up to get hit with hurricanes. So they were able to flexibly move their data at the secondary site to a third site in time to prepare for the storm, and they were able to keep their data up and running. So obviously something that needs to be thought of. Contingency plans need to be made. You need a run book. Your run book with Zerto is going to be, maybe 10 to 20% of what it previously was because of the simplicity that we offer. So just make sure that you have something, planning your disaster recovery so that it doesn't come as a complete shock and surprise to you when you do get hit with ransomware. When something does go down, you're going to be prepared. So, Zerto Summary, your safe zone. When you're hit with ransomware, for example, we give you journal-based protection. So you're going to be able to rewind your systems to the last point in time before the infection struck and to within a matter of seconds. We're giving you checkpoints at a pretty furious rate, every 3 to 12 seconds in general. within that first period of time, and additionally, the ease with which you can recover 3 clicks with an RTO of minutes. It's still stunning, I think, in this day and age. When you come from a place of physical storage replication, or maybe have worked with some other tools, maybe many generations of tools that have tried to compete, you're able to recover all your critical systems within the space of a few minutes. It's really a feature that can't be understated in terms of what that's going to mean to your business. The amount of time that you're down, you just can't let it happen. You have to be prepared. You have to be ready. We're going to give you the ability to recover very quickly in a very short time with a very easy process. So we're giving you powerful data protection and recovery. We're going to allow you to perform, we're going to restore applications and databases with consistency. We also are giving you the granularity to restore individual file level objects. So, in addition to incredible replication that we're able to perform, we're also able to give you, journal level file level recovery that gives you the ability probably to cut out 90% of backup use cases, right? Most of what you're going to use in backup is going to be, a lost file, a lost email, something that is from the past few days. Maybe you're going to go back after a long weekend to, a 4-day period. We have a journal that gives you 30 days of time to be able to go back in if you desire. So the ability to go back in time like that, it really gives you an amazing amount of flexibility, especially when you start talking about recovering those individual file level objects. Additionally, and what I find to be one of the great features that we have is just a non-disruptive failover test anytime, right? Being able to demonstrate, as a CSP to your customers, being able to get a demonstration as a customer from a CSP of a non-disruptive failover test. There's no tax on the hypervisor at production when you're performing these tests. This is something that you can perform at any time. If there's a boot storm on a Monday morning, you can perform this test. It won't matter. Anytime in the past, it was, okay, we're going down for a maintenance window. There goes your weekend. Let's order some pizza. It was a great bonding moment, I think, in time. But, the reality is you'd rather be spending time with your family or doing other things. Being able to perform a non-disruptive failover test anytime certainly gives you back that time. So the other great feature is just being able to use offsite cloning for long-term data retention. And you can put that in the cloud. You can put that on-prem. You can put that on a secondary site. One of the other use cases that I didn't bring up, just in terms of slaying that second DR site. There are customers that will not give up that second DR site, and in that case, often they're very interested in data resiliency, extremely interested, and having a third location for your data is no longer out of the question for replication. The reason that backup exists in the first place is because you can't keep, you haven't traditionally been able to keep multiple copies of your data around because it's been too expensive. But with the cost of storage, consistently coming down every year, that's no longer a problem. So, keeping a deduped copy off-site is a great way to protect these applications in an additional fashion. In the use case that I mentioned where, with the hurricanes, if by any chance the second site did go down, you really need to have that third site. And as much as you try to have your data outside of your secondary data, outside of your power grid, outside of your fault line, whatever the case may be, things happen, and it may not go just like you think it's going to. You may lose 2 sites. So definitely something to think about, and I think something that is going to become more a part of just the typical protection motion as time goes on and storage does get cheaper, that it's going to be a full deduped or deduped and compressed copy that people are keeping to be able to restore from. So, in summary, and looking at the use case review, lift and shift from on-prem to cloud, right? We're getting off that, as I said in the beginning, getting off that storage server refresh, right? We're not going to worry about what the equipment on the back end is. We're going to worry about what the performance on the back end is. We're going to worry about what the value on the back end is. We're not tied to the physical equipment anymore. And that is just a key aspect in moving from CapEx to OpEx and releasing yourself from the pain. And then decommissioning a DR site, get rid of that thing. If you don't need it, put it up in the cloud. If you do need it, find that third site, a safe place, in the cloud to make sure that you have 3 copies of everything. Locality and support, so you're leveraging CSP proximity for high speed with low latency to access your data. And then also, so important is the professional assistance with data and application recovery. I cannot, pound the desk enough on that. It's not, you don't want this to be a 7th grade science project. You want to work with professionals that have done this before, that do this every day, that have a repeatable and documented motion to get you into their cloud. We have a lot of CSPs that are throwing a ton of resources on the front end of engagements as part of the onboarding process. So that's generally at no cost to you as part of coming on board, where you're getting an evaluation of your environment. Now that's not the case in every CSP, but if that's something that is available to you, that's something that's going to give you a lot of insight into your environment that you're probably not seeing with the tools that you have now. So it can be extremely valuable. Let a professional handle the business. You don't know how expensive something is until you try it yourself, when it was possible for a professional to do. Finally, enhancing security and ransomware recoverability. Keep yourself from looking like a fool, right? You don't want to be the person that's in charge of the environment that's staring at a ransomware screen that doesn't have a contingency plan for that, because you're going to be getting out your credit card and you're going to get marked with an X as someone that can be hit with ransomware, and ultimately you're going to get hit again and again. So if you can prevent that first ransomware hit, you're going to be much further along in the process than those people that are going to be victims. So do not be a victim. So holiday worry-free with a Zerto CSP. 2018 is the year to get up into the cloud. If you're not there already, you can move your recovery workload into the cloud. We are seeing some customers that are moving their production workloads into the cloud successfully. The migration certainly is such an important part of that. Zerto makes it very simple, very easy to do for your CSP. But again, that professional assistance that they're going to give, the ability to get you into their cloud, that's where the value is. So I invite you to log into Zerto.com and get yourself into a free trial to realize the benefits that you're going to gain here from IT resiliency, from BCDR, and being able to make sure that your data is completely protected, and not just protecting your data, but also being able to prove that it's protected, another important aspect and facet. So again, I invite you to this free trial. I invite you to speak to the Zerto CSPs as well. You can reach out to myself, Derek Adair, if you need any help getting in touch with a particular type of CSP, perhaps a particular vertical. We have CSPs that are very specific. Some are specifically for credit unions. Some are specifically for accountants. And they are only putting those types of customers in their cloud, and they're really good at what they do, and they're really familiar with your business, maybe more familiar with your business than you are from working with so many customers in your vertical over such a long period of time. So something else to keep in mind. All right, well, I thank you all for joining. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to speaking with you all. Have a great day.